Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to St. Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord.
Another parable Jesus put before the crowds. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that someone took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of all the seeds, but when it has grown, it is the greatest of shrubs and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and make nests in its branches. And he told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed in with 3 measures of flour until all of it was leavened. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which someone found and hid. Then in his joy he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls. On finding one pearl of great value, he went and sold all that he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net that was thrown into the sea and caught fish of every kind. When it was full, they drew it ashore, sat down, and put the good into buckets and threw out the bad. So it will be at the end of the age. The angels will come and separate the evil from the righteous and throw them into the furnace of fire, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Have you understood all this? They answered, yes. And he said to them, therefore, every scribe who has been trained for the kingdom of heaven is like the master of a household, who brings out of his treasure what is new and what is old. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Would you please be seated? It's a little bit funny that in the Gospel reading that Jesus would give this whole series of parables, very brief statements about what the kingdom of heaven is like, which all of them need quite a bit of thought as to what do they actually mean. But then he ends up with a simple statement to his disciples. Have you understood all this? That would take people many hours to really absorb, and they just say yes. So presumably they're saying, well, no, but what are you meant to say? And all these readings that we have this morning, the Psalm, the first reading from 1 Kings, and then that beautiful reading from Romans, and this line, have you understood all this? Speaks a common kind of thread to it is dwelling on the law. That's the whole of Psalm 119. The writer dwells on the law of the Lord, how sweet it is, how it governs one's life and brings one joy. The reading we have from Romans was read many years ago when I had a young friend who was tragically killed. That was, first of all, his favorite passage, but it was read at the burial, as it sometimes is, this passage from Romans chapter 8. Beautiful passage. And it has just a couple of elements to it that are sort of significant for me this morning. And that's the great statement about God's love, which of course, in the moment of death, we are finally united with God's love. But it has an ongoing, very important ongoing relevance to us during our Christian life, on our walk. And in September onwards, for probably the fall period, I want to have quite a bit of focus on St. Francis and on what he can bring to us as individuals and as a body of people. And that's a lot. But this passage here on God's love touches on one aspect of it. And St. Francis, as he's interpreted by one person about 800 years ago, speaks of recollection, of meditation, and uses the word recollection, Now here, Paul is speaking of the love of God, and so St. Francis is saying, in our journey as Christians, the soul joined to God and God joined to the soul is our destination. It's not only at the moment of death, but it's something that's available to us kind of all the time. And Jesus, speaking about these parables, is almost saying to us, we need to have this mindset all the time. That's what the kingdom of heaven is. Not being distracted. The kingdom of heaven is, for instance, a treasure that we hold on to. God joined to the soul joined to God, and God joined to the soul. And so, Osuna is saying, don't be distracted by all of the things in the world. As you journey as a believer, you need to be, that word, you need to be recollected. But not distracted, but recollected. That you, he says, you're like a traveler dreaming of your destination, or like a builder who is constantly referring to the architect's plan. So what is God's destination for you? What is the architect's plan for you? And on your journey you are meditating on God's love and on what God is drawing you towards. And then, so this is something that we can try. Maybe just begin little experiments of our own this week leading up to September, to start to try to grow in reflection, in meditation, in recollection, as he's saying, so that we can kind of deepen our journey with God. When we are doing that, if you, like many other people like me, you sit down to be silent and to dwell on God's love, it's often that you will get 1,000 distracting thoughts from bills that have to be paid. Just sometimes, as one writer said, just the movement of a curtain distracts us. So it takes us time to grow in this meditation, being able to go deeply into a meditation on God's love, God's destination for us, God's plan for us. And so he speaks about the need to notice those things when they come in, anxieties that come in, all kinds of distractions that come into our minds. He says we need to look at them with compassionate detachment, and then, in other words, they're not us. They are just kind of things that are passing through. It's an anxiety that is passing through. It's a thought that is passing through. That is not you. You just look at it with detachment, compassionate detachment, and, which is also in our epistle reading this morning, with gratitude. So even if it's something that you're really worried about, concerned about, or somebody that you feel very disturbed by that comes into your mind, there is this sentence that all things work for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. So there you are, you're dwelling on God's love for those who love God and are called according to his purpose, dreaming of your destination, focusing on the architect's plan, for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. So you're able to, even this person who troubles you a lot, or that concern that you have about finance or disease or whatever it is, you look at it with compassionate detachment, and then with gratitude that somehow that thing traveling through that God has sent somehow brings something, is a messenger from God of some kind. Now, I can't answer the question as to what that is, but as you meditate on it, as you focus on God, his love, his destination, the architect's plan, and in a spirit of gratitude, you just look at that thing, then you'll see it begins to unravel. Either a conversation you have with somebody, or something else comes along that begins to explain what it is, what God has brought it into your life to accomplish. So there's a great deal more to say, but I thought that I'd just like to, as we read this reading today and move forward into this kind of focus in the fall, that maybe you could go home this week and during your prayer time, try those things a little bit. Try and grow a little bit in your meditation, your life, so that your prayer isn't just a list of things that you need from God or words you're reading out, but that you dwell, sit there, become recollected, dwell on the love of God, go deeper into it, and be able to have that compassionate detachment, have that sense of gratitude, have that deepening of the love of God, and deepening, finding His calling for you in your life. In the name of Christ. Amen.